Hello, and welcome to this video about October's full moon in Aries. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
I'm Julia Mijas in San Francisco, California.
And this month, we're going to tell you what the moon will feel like this full moon in Aries, and when it's happening and best ways to handle it. So what we've got here is the moon is full right here in Aries, and it's hanging out with Chiron, the wounded healer. That could bring up some sensitivity. We have the moon is opposite Venus, which is here with the sun in Libra, which will absolutely bring in diplomacy. So there's always a dualistic nature to a full moon. It has a bit of a push-pull about it. Just because the sun and the moon are always opposed during a full moon, and this one brings in more factors. We have additional stress brought in by Pallas Athena right here in Cancer, but then Saturn is helping to tap off the stress of the full moon. So I'm thinking that with the moon being with Chiron, there could be a lot of sensitivity. There could be arguments in relationships, in friendships that happen under this moon, where one person is angry and also feeling sensitive, and they would be kind of playing the role of this moon-Chiron combination, while the other partner is trying to bring reason, trying to negotiate, trying to be polite, but also maybe getting run over by the anger or the upset of the moon Chiron person. And then Saturn can step in and mitigate this by bringing a grounding influence. Julia, what are your thoughts about this moon?
Well, I sort of see a bit of a seesaw or a little bit of a tension between independence and interdependence with this moon. Aries is a super independent sign, and Pallas, that asteroid, is a rather, it's about female independence a lot too. However, we also have Libra, the sign of relationships, and then Venus, the planet of relationships, highly dignified in the sign of Libra too. So again, there might be a little bit of a tension between, who you are as an individual, who you are within your relationship, and stuff with Chiron there also, a little of that sense of maybe wounding around issues of independence. There might be stuff that's coming up from the past in your relationship that's getting dealt with under this full moon. Like, have you ever heard of the term relationship archaeology, where people kind of dig through like, well, you said this a year ago, and then you did that 2 years ago. That's sort of what I'm seeing with that Chiron with the moon opposed Venus in this configuration.
Yeah, absolutely. And the addition of Pallas Athena, which enters into this, dialogue, if you will, between the moon and the sun, enters into it in a stressful way, and could sort of intensify the situation by at times being overly armored or overly exposed. So we're calling this one arguments that wound and dialogue that heals, because I think that Saturn makes the difference, and that this could absolutely lead to arguments that wound, and a person who feels wounded and is just kind of flailing about but causing collateral damage. But also, this has the potential to turn into dialogue that heals very much. And with Saturn's grounding influence, and what makes the difference is taking responsibility, for your part in the situation or for how your communication lands. And I think it's no surprise that this moon should come along here as Juno retrograde is coming to a close. And these are all things that we're going to be talking about in our horoscopes this month. Juno retrograde has been pretty hard on all of our relationships, and so if there's some flare-ups of arguments here under this moon as Juno retrograde is preparing to finish later in the month. It's no surprise, but just try not to do damage that is lasting. You know, if this is an honest conversation and that brings out stuff that needed to come out and everybody takes responsibility for their part in the matter, then that's the difference between a very painful situation that just makes things worse and a dialogue that brings healing to all parties.
Yeah, I love how I love that Saturn in there because you know, Saturn, especially having that nice trine to both the sun and to Venus, as well as the helpful sextile to the moon. You know, when Saturn comes into the relationship picture in a helpful way, you know, Saturn takes relationship problems in stride and says, okay, we've got work to do. Saturn isn't scared of work, you know. So if you kind of if you sort of picture it, Saturn might not be the most lighthearted, fun, oh, union of souls kind of feel when he comes into the relationship picture, but he can give a good, strong sense of commitment and duty, and just being able to roll up your sleeves and say, all right, let's do some work together.
Absolutely. And as you're fond of saying, Julia, Saturn is at home in Aquarius traditionally in astrology, and really points to the way that our social groups can provide a helpful structure for our relationships. And so this Saturn could be represented by the mediation of a friend, or you know, an acknowledgement that a relationship exists in a community context.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. That is the stuff we wanted to let you know about this moon. It's happening on October 9th. And get on through it. And then later in the month, relationship stuff is going to get a lot better. And until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.